Welcome to another episode of Culinary School Stories, the bi-weekly podcast that is dedicated to sharing the stories of people around the globe whose lives have been influenced, impacted, touched, and or enriched, for good or for bad, from their culinary school experience. Hi, my name is Colin Roach, and I'm your host. Thanks for joining us today. You are an important part of this show, where we ask the question, what's your culinary school story? So now, without any further delay, let's meet today's guest. Hello, and welcome to the Culinary School Stories podcast, a proud member of the Food Media Network. Before we begin today's episode, I want to ask you, the listener, a couple of questions. First, do you have a culinary school story that you would like to share? If so, we would love to hear it and have you as a guest on a future episode. To get the ball rolling, go to the show's website at www.culinaryschoolstories.com and then download and complete the guest information questionnaire. And that's pretty much it. You send that back to us by email, and we will be back in touch as soon as we can to set up our chat. My second question is, how do you like the podcast so far? Hopefully you've listened to a couple of episodes, and we want to know, is it good? Bad? Is it entertaining? Maybe the information shared was helpful, maybe inspirational. Whatever your thoughts might be, we want to hear them. Comments, questions, suggestions, any type of feedback, it is all good. So please let us know. And you can do that in a bunch of different ways. You can email us at culinaryschoolstories@gmail.com. You can fill out one of the many comment boxes on our website, or you could even leave us a voicemail on our audience response hotline at area code 207-835-1275. Heck, maybe we'll even play your comments on a future episode. Alrighty, I now want to introduce you to Keshawn Adams, who is today's guest and has just completed his 4th year of culinary school and is about to graduate. Keshawn, welcome to the show, and let's start right out with the first question.
All right, perfect.
All right, just to start right off the bat, why did you go to culinary school? What drove you to culinary school? What's the background that wanted you to go to a school and learn about cooking?
All right. So the reason I decided to go to culinary school was I decided this years and years ago. One time probably like 10 years ago, I would say, I was helping my grandma prepare dinner. And I don't know, for some reason, I was having a lot of fun doing it. We were like making green beans and stuff. And ever since then, I've been saying I was going to be a chef. So that's the reason I chose to go to culinary school.
Great. And you went to Johnson & Wales at the Miami campus. What made you pick Miami?
The reason I chose the Miami campus rather than, I'll say, the main campus was because it's smaller. And I prefer a smaller setting because I would like to know my teachers, and I definitely would like my teachers to know me. I think that's very important. And I think Miami, I just felt like the way I am, it'll be easy for me to get connections. Miami, is just a live party city. And I'm just a crazy, lively person.
Cool. Did you tour any other culinary schools or campuses before you made your decision or came to the Miami campus?
No, I did not actually tour any school. And I only did a virtual tour at Johnson & Wales. And I got hooked on it. Like, it wasn't even anything official. I just went on the website and saw the virtual tour they had online. And I was like, yep, that's the school. And then I signed up for orientation.
Awesome. Where were you originally from?
Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland. So it's a long trip down to Miami.
Long trip.
Let's jump right into think about your first day at school when you arrived on campus. What do you wish you had known when you started out?
Something that I wish I would have known when I very first started out at Johnson & Wales University is that, it takes time. Like, you don't have to come into school being the best. Like, for example, I came into school not having any culinary background. Like, unlike other people in my classroom, let's say, for example, they did all types of culinary programs throughout their high school programs, different trainings and whatnot. Me, on the other hand, I literally, whatever I just did at home, that's the only type of experience I had. So no real training experience. So me coming in, I was kind of nervous because I seen everybody else. They kind of already knew they knife cuts and whatnot, and I knew I was behind. So I was worried about. I wish I would have knew not to really focus on them as much and just to focus on myself, and that I was going to get there. It's all in a day's work.
Good, good. Did you have a plan before you started culinary school? What you thought you were going to get out of it, and what you were going to do with that knowledge, like a certain job or profession, or you just kind of went into it? And, tell us about what your thought process was.
Oh, well, my thought process, well, at the time, during high school, I was working in the kitchen at an assisted living home in Bedford, Ohio, Lighter Hearts Villa. And I would always talk to my chef about the actual restaurant industry and whatnot, and what I can do with a degree in culinary arts. And, he always tell me it's different things, like I can go into a restaurant, become a chef, go to a hotel. He just pretty much told me there's not one solid thing you can do. So going into culinary school, I was open to anything. I was open to eventually being a chef in a restaurant or going to a hotel, because there's so many different, aspects of the kitchen. It's just not one specific thing you got to do like other majors. So I just went in there going for whatever I can take.
Let me do a quick 5-question lightning round with you.
Let's do it.
All right. Number 1, what was your best class in culinary school?
Breakfast and lunch.
What was your worst class?
Global, I think it was called Cooking in the Global Marketplace or something like that.
And when you graduate, are you going to be wearing, does your school have cap and gown, or do you wear chef coat with or without a toque?
We're going to be wearing a cap and gown. Well, we were supposed to be wearing a cap and gown.
Oh, what do you mean you're supposed to?
Well, thanks to the, global pandemic that we're going through, I guess, that the news says, coronavirus, we had to postpone our ceremony for the time being.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah.
Very tragic.
Mm-hmm. Are you more of a black and white check type guy, or are you a more chili pepper, bright color type guy?
Oh, definitely chili pepper, bright color. You can see me. You know when I enter the room.
What about shoes? More of an Oxford typical work shoe type, or a clog type of shoe?
Clogs, definitely, because they're easy slip on, slip off.
All right, good. So thinking about culinary school, what advice would you give someone, wanting to go to culinary school, wanting to kind of, start out? What advice would you tell them about entering into this culinary education, these culinary schools?
The biggest piece of advice I can give someone who's entering culinary school, I was definitely get involved with everything. There's so many things that, for example, my campus had. Like we had our special function team, our culinary departments, where we go out in Miami, not even just Miami, just in Florida, and do different events. Like I had cooked at the Viscay mansions. I did different interactive dinners in front of millionaires. I went along with the Sobe Fest. I got to participate in that. And all that did was it expanded, my connections. Now I have people that I never would have known. Like, for example, Michael Symon, he's from Cleveland, Ohio, like me. And thanks to the special function team, I got to get a picture with him. So I definitely would say get involved and do everything you can. Don't get caught back. You may get homesick for a little while, but make sure you get involved. That's going to make you get out of that homesickness. And at the end of the day, it's just going to benefit you.
All right. What is the one common myth about culinary school that you hear that you want to debunk? You don't believe it?
Oh, one common myth that all the chef instructors are like evil and they, expect everything to be perfect. That is actually the furthest from the truth. Every chef instructor that I had has been the most. I wouldn't say they were laid back, because that would make it seem like they were lazy. But they made you comfortable. Like I was comfortable with every one of my chef instructors. I wasn't scared to ask them a question about anything, even if it was the same question a million times. And I know you'll know that. Like I'll ask the same thing over and over. And that's one thing that I appreciated about you all. So that's one myth I wanted to debunk. That the chef instructors, they're there for you and they're not going to be hard.
Great. Let's switch gears here. Let me ask you about a challenge. What's one big challenge you faced in culinary school, and what lesson did you learn from it?
One big challenge I would say I faced was, I would have to say, my motivation, because like I said, this is college or culinary school. So a lot of the work is going to be put on you for you to be doing by yourself, and no one's really going to be holding your hand along the way since it is college. So I would say that was one challenge I faced, just because I'm a person that jumps from A to D. Like I can go from 0 to 50, like just jump from one thing to another in 2 seconds. So I had to keep focus. Me keeping focus and just, actually finishing something, I would say was my biggest challenge. But now there were resources out there that did help me finish now. Like, for example, the chefs. Whenever I had a challenge or something, I'll just go to one of you all. And it was like, boom, cake, simple. We finished it.
Good. So speaking of that, what other resources were there that helped you along the way through your culinary school, maybe those first few years? Or, what's some books maybe you'd recommend, or something that someone would do? What's some resources that you might advise?
A book that I definitely would recommend getting you through culinary school and actually using is the book that my school, Johnson & Wales University, provided for us. I used that school from the first day, used that book from the first day all the way to the last day of school. Actually, it applied to every class throughout all 4 years, and I'm pretty sure it's still going to apply to different things that I'm going to do throughout my life. So if you want that book, I suggest apply to go to Johnson & Wales University. Some other resources that they had out there were, I had a lot of mentors, just actually other culinary students that were doing the same thing. One good thing about culinary school is the way Johnson & Wales did it. We were in labs, and we were in labs for a whole trimester. However much was that, like 3 or 6 months or something? I don't know, but we would be with the same group of students for each of our set of labs. So we would develop nice relationships with all these students, and we were all there for each other. We were like a family. We had our good days and our bad days. So that's definitely what helped me get through.
Good. Let's think about something you failed at. What obstacle or roadblocks got in your way? How did you get through them? Think about one of your biggest failures. What did you do to overcome it, or what did you learn? What was the takeaway?
Okay, I would probably say my biggest failure, I would say, is I could have done more, actually, even though I did a lot. I got into the game actually late. Now, even though I joined, my freshman year I came, and I was actually that person that didn't get involved in everything. I didn't actually start doing stuff actually to like my sophomore and junior year. So that I was already put behind on some stuff. Like, for example, if I would have did certain things my freshman year, I would have known certain people that would have helped me. I would be in a different position by now. This is different things. I mean, I wouldn't say I necessarily failed at everything, because I'm getting my degree and I got a lot out of it. So yeah, that's one thing I would probably change, though, is I would have definitely got involved sooner and took advantage of all the resources that we had.
What do you think is the future of culinary school? Where do you see it going?
I actually see a lot of stuff going on online when it comes to culinary school. There's a lot of different types of culinary things coming out. For example, like we're doing this podcast. A couple of years ago, you would never think anybody would get on a podcast talking about different culinary things. So I think it's going to be a lot more virtual culinary things, and that's going to be interesting to see take place. As well as, in my opinion, I want to say it's going to be a lot of more. They're going to combine more like of the business aspect to it as well. A lot more people want to be entrepreneurs and want to open up their own thing. And I believe people out there would rather buy from, local things now instead of like big companies. I think we change it.
Okay. And staying with that future theme, what is your future? What is your plans? Where do you see yourself in a year, 5 years? Where are you going?
Oh man, I see myself doing everything possible. I want to do so many things in the culinary world. I want to, first start off. A year from now, I first see myself, and I just want to, right now, a year from now, I just want to be working, hopefully as some type of assistant manager in some type of kitchen, or an assistant living home, or type of the healthcare industry. Because what I've been learning recently, especially after this pandemic, they used to always say this: you always have a job if you want to be a chef, because people always got to eat. But during this pandemic, that's been proven false, because all these restaurants are closed. But the only type of cooking people that have jobs right now are people working in the healthcare industry. So I've definitely been looking into working in like a kitchen, hospitals, or an assistant living home. So that's what I definitely see myself in a year. Now, down the line, after I save money and after I get way more expensive, I'm definitely going to open my own food truck. I definitely see myself succeeding in that, not only with my personality, because I have an idea. I actually learned this idea from a chef too in an instructor in my school. So, and you never thought about this thing, and I'm actually going to go with it. That's how I know it's going to be successful, because you just got to run with stuff these days and just believe in it.
This pandemic definitely has taken our industry for, tossed it upside down. So.
Oh, definitely. It's horrible.
Do you know personally people that have been affected, lost jobs in our industry?
Yeah, I lost my job at I was working at Serafina in Aventura Mall. Now that since they issued the stay-at-home order and everything, and it's only takeout, there's no need for all these cooks and whatnot. So they're telling all of us to try to get on unemployment and whatnot. But those websites barely even work.
Yeah, tell me about that. How did they inform the staff or all of you? How did they tell you? Did they call you in, or was it an email? Was it?
Oh, I would say it was actually done in a very unprofessional manner, but the reason I'm not too offended is because I was getting ready to leave anyways, because I am getting ready to graduate school. But so this is how it happened. So I'll say 2 weeks ago is when everything first happened. Everything, they started shutting down the restaurants. It's only takeout only. So they told everyone, all right, just go home. We'll call you all when to come in. So 2 weeks went by, and then each employee got a phone call, and also was a message on this scheduling app called Hot Schedules. And all it said is, we've come to the decision that we're going to be laying off everyone. And once we open up again in the future, you can all reapply, but there's no guarantee that you're going to be hired. So they waited 2 weeks to tell everyone that they was getting rid of them, when these people in the 2 weeks, they could have been looking for other jobs. But they weren't, because they were under the assumption that, this is not a permanent thing and they will be getting back to their regular jobs. So it was a very unprofessional way they did it.
Yeah. Many people believe that culinary school or the kitchen or this industry is really challenging, to the point that it's overwhelming, too much to handle. Why do you think people believe that? And, why do they think that, our industry or even culinary school, why do people think culinary school is going to be hard? Or do they think it's challenging? Maybe they don't. I mean, what do you think people's perception is of the kitchen?
No, people definitely think the kitchen is challenging. And I would say it's challenging, but only for people who don't have a passion for it. Like, for example, lots of chefs, they don't get holidays off. They don't get birthdays off. A lot of chefs work all year round, for example. They don't get lots of time with their family. So that could be straining on a lot of people. But chefs, they go into it. Like, we know this going into it. Like, we learned this in school. You guys tell us this right off the bat. So we go on where we prepared to go. So I don't see it as challenging. And like me, I'm not necessarily a family person. I like the family I have. I don't plan on really getting invested in too much more. So I'm okay with being in the restaurant all holidays and whatnot. That's perfectly fine with me. I actually like that. More money.
Okay, who are the 3 people who have been the most influential to you, who taught you, they guided you in your career? It could be a mentor, it could be a relative, someone you know, someone you've never met, maybe you just read about. Who are the 3 people most influential to you?
All right, I would probably say first is Michael Symon, because he is from Cleveland. So he really inspired me. I'm like, wow, somebody who is from Cleveland got to become this famous celebrity chef. So I really look at him and a lot of stuff he do, because I feel like I'm gonna mirror a lot of stuff when he do, but not even mirror. I'm gonna do it better than him. I'm gonna try to follow in his footsteps. That's what I do. So that's the first one. My second one is my mother. I got to do this for my mother. I'm going to make us rich one day, because we weren't the richest people growing up now, but I'm going to make us super rich. We're going to be in that wealthy class. We're going to be that 1% one day. Trust me. Yeah. And number 3, actually, and I'm not just saying this now. Now, another person that inspired me is actually you, Chef. You done taught me a lot of different things, and actually you done got me thinking about different career paths I didn't even think I can go into, like voice things and a lot of different things. I've been looking into all different types of stuff because of you.
Wow, thank you. I'm honored to be one of your top 3.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can help you become that super rich person that you want.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think you'll be successful.
Yeah, I'm not too worried, actually. Not to toot my own horn, but I know how to adapt.
Okay, so what story do you have? You must have a lot of stories being in culinary school for 3 years, 4 years. there's a lot of stuff that happens. What's a good story that you want to share with us? There's something, that happened to you, happened to someone else, something maybe it's funny, maybe it's tragic, maybe it's sad, maybe it's inspirational. Give us a story or two.
Oh, okay. This is actually an experience from literally the first day of school. It was like my first culinary lab. So it's the first day of school. We all get our knife kits. All our knives are extremely sharp because they've never been used and they're brand new. And that's the first thing the chefs tell us too when we get it. Be careful. So this was honestly one of my very first times holding a real sharp professional knife. I was so nervous. Now in my head, I was thinking, just please don't be the first person to cut your finger. That's all. It'll be a successful day if I can get through the first day without being the first to cut my finger. So we're going through like 10 minutes of the class, and all of a sudden I hear somebody scream, and then I looked over. Some girl cut her finger all the way down the thing. Now, it was very tragic for the girl, but I cannot tell you how happy I was that somebody cut their finger before me. And then I think because I was happy about it, actually later on in the class, I did end up cutting my finger. It wasn't that bad. It was a little cut. So I wasn't too nervous. I wasn't too mad about it because as long as I wasn't the first, and that's something that happened. I found that very funny.
It's kind of a rite of passage, right? You got to cut yourself. You got to test those tools out.
Yeah, and she cut her finger pretty badly, actually. I think she needed stitches.
Wow. Well, I bet she remembers it to this day.
Yeah.
You had mentioned you had some tips. I guess I was looking at your questionnaire here. You have some tips that you want to share with people or some tips that helped you. So tell us about those tips.
All right. My first tip definitely is for the shop people that's out there. You definitely got to be outgoing. Try your hardest to just try something different. When I first came to Johnson & Wales, I was shy, and it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe this. Many people won't believe it. I tell you, but I was shy and not very outgoing. But then, I got my group of friends, a close group of friends, and I got comfortable with them, and we could develop a great relationship. And then they taught me to be more confident with myself, so that taught me to be more outgoing to other people. And because of that, that's why almost every person on campus knew me. Everywhere I went, every teacher, from the president all the way down to every custodian that walked around the flamingo halls. So just always be outgoing, bright person, because you want people to remember you. That's my first tip. Now, my second tip is you're not always going to have good days. There's going to be some days where you wake up late. There's going to be some days you miss your class, but it's not the end of the world. Just keep going. Everyone has their bad days, and trust me, I had my share. But everyone's here to help you. So never be scared to just go out there and ask for help. And my third tip, the most important tip, is definitely make sure you have fun. It's going to go by quick at the end of the day. I'm going to be graduating at the end of May, and I feel like I just walked into school last year. And I made a whole bunch of memories, and I made a countless amount of friends that I'm going to have for the rest of my life. And I'm happy I enjoyed the experience. I'm happy I didn't. You don't just worry about school the whole time. Now, you got to make sure you get your good grades and everything. But I ended school pretty well. I'm ending with a 3.0, and I had my fair share of fun. So I think that's a win.
So you think you've changed then from that first day walking into school to now you're almost walking across the stage, or at least walking out the door, and you're going to be done with your 4 years degree. You think you've changed, huh? You've grown. You're a different person.
100%. The people back home, when I talk to people back home, they don't recognize me. When they see me, they're like, wow, Keshawn. I've grown, my hair out, my appearance is different. I'm like a new person. The only thing the same is my name.
Awesome. So I'm going to ask you, was it worth it? Was it worth the money? Was it worth the time? Was it worth the learning? Did you come away with, return on investment? Tell us about your thoughts on that.
Well, was culinary school worth leaving all my family all the way in Ohio coming to Florida? Was culinary school worth me spending thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars? And was culinary school worth me being stressed for the last 4 years of my life? I will completely 100% say yes, because now it's put me somewhere where I can apply for positions where I'm making almost $50,000 a year, and I'm not even 22 years old. I mean, I just turned 22 years old. I'm going to almost be making more money than my parents, and they're way older than me. Culinary, so college definitely does put you ahead of other people that didn't go to college, in my opinion. Let's say I didn't do If I were to just stay in Ohio, I would probably be 100 pounds heavier and just living off my mom if I didn't end up coming here to Miami to go to culinary school. So I'm actually happy I did that, and I think it's worth it.
Good. What's one thing they don't tell you about culinary school? Admissions or, friends, and, what's the underbelly? What is the one thing that, you're like, aha, they don't tell you that?
Something that they don't tell you in culinary school, that it's not just all in the kitchen work. There is a lot of research project. It's not all just cooking. I came into this, that's one thing I didn't know. I came into this thinking a lot of it, this is going to be, being a chef is just cooking. When in actuality, there's a lot of math. There's a lot of research that has to be done. Like, in my opinion, chefs are like scientists. Like, there's so much to culinary arts. I understand why it's a bachelor's in science that they give now, because it literally is a science. There's so much to it. It's not just cooking and cutting and seasoning.
You've been in the industry now. You've worked in some different restaurants. You've worked in some of the healthcare facilities you mentioned in the back of the house there. Is it what you expected being in after culinary school? Did they portray it to be an accurate picture for you, painted for the students?
It definitely is the way they portray it. The only thing I didn't get a sense of actually is how vulgar the industry out there is very great. Now, I love it. Now, certain people not gonna love it, but so like, let's just say, for example, if you don't have tough skin, you can't take a joke or like certain language you don't like to hear, the kitchen is not for you. Now, many kitchens are like this. Like, it's starting to change. Like, it is definitely starting to change. Like, I've actually seen some people get in trouble for some things they said, but it's definitely still very vulgar. So that's one thing I was not prepared for. But I find it very funny because I'm just a very outgoing and funny person, so I can take it. But certain people, if you're very sensitive, I wouldn't recommend it. Or I would definitely, when applying for a job, ask about, their different policies they have if you are very sensitive.
Vulgar, what do you mean by that? The language is like profanity? Is it the way they say it, they act?
The language, oh yeah, the things they say, the things that are talked about, what some people may call locker room talk.
Where do you think that stems from? Do you think that's from management? Is that the chef? Is that they just allow it?
Oh, it definitely stems from management. Because I've worked at some places where they didn't put up with that stuff, and other places where it was the chefs being the vulgar ones. So it just trickled its way down to the employees. So it definitely stems from the management.
Wow. Let me ask you, is that mostly majority male, or is that female, both?
Oh, majority male. Definitely male. Whenever I work with like women in the kitchen, they've never actually, I've never actually worked for a woman chef or anything, and that's crazy. That I worked in a couple kitchens, but all the very bold ones, they're chefs. Yeah.
So you never worked in the industry for a female chef or manager, but what about in culinary labs? You had male and female instructors. Did you see any difference between the two?
Oh yeah, I definitely did.
Was there a difference because of their gender?
I would say I definitely seen a difference between my male and female professors. I don't know if it's necessarily because of their gender, maybe just their personalities. Like, for example, I had one female instructor. It was like one of the best teachers I've ever had in my life. And then I had another female instructor where she was the worst teacher of my life. Like, I'm not going to say any names or anything. I'll say the name of the best teacher I had. One of the best female teachers. Her name was Chef Coma. That was one of the best female, that I like a woman that can lead, and she led. Now, but the other professor, on the other hand, you can tell a teacher can't teach when she doesn't have control of the class. Like, the class, we pretty much lay at her. Like, we would walk in the lab. She wouldn't start off by laying anything down what we gonna do. So we went in like, all right, we're gonna do this and do this. And by the middle of class, everybody doing their own thing, and there's no way she can get our attention to control anymore. So she just let us go off and do whatever. And actually, I wish I was able to take that class again. I mentioned it was the worst class I took. It was cooking in the global marketplace. I mean, the chef, I think she was new. She didn't have any other teaching experience. But the school got rid of her after a lot of complaints, so nobody else had to worry about this lady.
Let me ask you, staying on that same topic there, do you see differences in the lab between male and female students? Do you see a different attitude or approach or anything that you could add to that?
I would definitely say I've seen the girls took the labs way more seriously than the men in the labs, because you will always see actually the girls, like when we would break down into the groups, the girls of the group would be the ones taking charge and like, let's see like during the project. The women, they didn't trust us to do like all the pen and paper work and like the nitty gritty. And I don't blame them, because I wouldn't trust myself to do it either sometimes. And now them on the other end, they was like, they cared about their grade. They was like, I'm getting this grade. I know how to do it. They set the line down. They was like, you doing this and this from the beginning. From every girl I ever had, and they was like, you doing this, this, and this, this, and this. And there was no question asked. They laid down the law. That's one thing I would say. And they didn't take any crap while in the kitchen because it was a girl or anything.
So they took control of the academic part. How were they with the culinary, the kitchen part, being the chef of the day?
They were just as good as that too. Like I said, for example, they was the group lead. They were sort of, all right, you doing this, this, and this. You doing this and this. They like ran the show, and I was just like, all right, I just fell in line, no questions asked. They were always the first to jump up and want to do this stuff, because they were always taken more seriously. And they probably took it more seriously because maybe it's harder. Like, for example, they have different stereotypes for it, and like it's not that many women in the kitchen, so they got to work. For example, they probably working harder to get in the kitchen. Like, it is a stereotype. It's not true, but just different stuff like that.
So why do you think they're more academically, or leadership is above males?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure really. They just take it more seriously. Yeah.
Are they more driven?
Yeah, the men, because I don't want to say, because it'll sound bad if I say it's easier for men. That's why they don't take things as seriously. But it's kind of the truth, though. It's the sad truth. Like women, they have to work harder for certain things.
So do you think that'll make them better chefs, better management?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely at the end of the day. Heck yeah.
So if you were going to hire a male or a female, would you go that far to say you'd pick a female?
Oh, no. I mean, it depends. I wouldn't, the gender wouldn't matter to me. It would, if I can get along with the person. And not necessarily the thing about me is not even their skills either, or their gender and anything. It's if I can get along with the person I work with. As long as you're a down-to-earth person that never caused any problems or issues, I will hire you.
In culinary school, too, a lot of people think it's just going to be cooking. But in most schools, most programs, you also take front of the house and baking and pastry. How were those for you?
Oh, actually, my baking and pastry classes were very fun. The instructors that I had were extremely funny. Like, I didn't expect them to be as funny as they were. One chef I had was Chef Azard, and another chef I had was Chef Kopsik. They were very laid back, the chefs. They knew what they were doing. They amazed all of us, definitely, with the different things that they showed us, what they do, like the things you can do with bacon and pastry. So I actually say those were a couple of my more fun, exciting labs.
In front of the house?
In front of the house, definitely. Now, front of the house is a whole different ballpark. There's so many things to it. I never knew that. Now, I've always, like, in my sister living home, I set up the dining room and stuff for the residents every day. But until I got to school, I didn't know it was like certain measurements. Everything had to be the different polishing techniques. I never knew all those. There's a lot to it, and I like it.
Serving from the different sides.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else you want to share with someone that's going to go to culinary school, someone that's thinking about it, someone that's jumping into this career? Any last minute things you would tell them?
I just want to say, go for it. Whatever you got to do it, just go for it. Don't worry about, hey, maybe you had to take out a loan. Maybe you have to do something, borrow that money. It don't matter. You'll pay it back one day. Just do it. It's going to be worth it at the end. You got to invest in yourself, because nobody else can do it if you don't invest in yourself.
Good. Any preparation advice they should do before they get there?
Yes. Make sure you know how to cook a little.
Get some experience?
Yeah, not that much, but, make sure you know the basics. Like, make sure you know how to boil an egg, just the real scramble some eggs, just the real basic stuff.
Great. All righty. I guess that's about it.
All right, perfect. And I appreciate you having me on this.
All right, well, thanks a lot.
All right, cool. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.
And a big thanks and appreciation also goes out to all of you, the listeners. We hope you enjoy the show and this episode. You all are a big part of this show, so please let us know what you think. Your comments are always welcome, and they help us in making the best show possible. You can email them to culinaryschoolstories@gmail.com. That's culinaryschoolstories@gmail.com. Or even leave us a voicemail at area code 207-835-1275. That's area code 207-835-1275. And if you like the show, we have a big ask of all of you, and that is to share the podcast with everyone you know and to give us a positive rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Okay, until our next Culinary School story, take care and be well. Bye-bye.